The wind howled across the open plains, carrying the scent of dust, sage, and rain that hadn't fallen yet. The sun was a molten disk lowering itself behind the jagged ridges, painting the sky with fire and gold. Along that lonely stretch of road rode Samuel Hart, a widowed father of one, his worn boots hanging heavy in the stirrups of his aging bay horse. His little boy, Eli, sat in front of him, clutching the saddle horn with both tiny hands. They'd been on the trail since dawn, hauling a small wagon behind with whatever was left of their lives packed in wooden crates, tools, blankets, and the worn rocking chair his late wife used to sing from. It had been 2 years since Clara died, and Samuel still caught himself listening for her voice in the wind. "Papa, are we almost there?" Eli asked softly, his tone as small as his frame. "Almost, son," Samuel replied, his voice steady, though he didn't know exactly where there was any more. Maybe it was the next town. Maybe it was just anywhere they could start again. As they rounded the bend near River Road, Samuel saw a wagon up ahead. Its right wheel snapped, the load half tilted in the dirt. A lone woman stood beside it, hat tipped low, trying to lever the wheel back on with a broken branch. Her dress was dusty but of fine cloth, her stance unshaken. Samuel pulled up the reins. "Looks like someone's in trouble," he murmured to Eli. The boy nodded eagerly. They dismounted. "Mom, need a hand?" Samuel called out. The woman turned. Beneath the wide brim of her hat, her eyes were the color of a storm about to break, gray and fierce. "Seems I do," she said calmly. "My wheel's split clean through. Been trying to brace it, but she won't hold." Samuel crouched beside the wheel, studying it. "You've been using a branch for leverage. Smart thinking, but this axle's cracked too. Won't hold past another mile." The woman's gaze sharpened. "You know wagons. Built a few in my time," he said, pulling out a small hammer from his belt pouch. "Name's Samuel Hart. Rebecca," she said after a pause. No last name, no explanation. He smiled slightly. "Well, Miss Rebecca, looks like you picked a fine place to break down, right before a storm." The thunder rumbled in agreement. Working together, they managed to brace the wagon enough to limp it to a nearby grove. Samuel patched what he could with nails from his toolbox and a cut of spare wood from his own wagon. When the first raindrops began to fall, they took shelter beneath a rocky ledge. Eli sat near the fire Rebecca started, eyes wide as he watched her strike a match like she'd done it 1,000 times. She wasn't like the frontier ladies he'd met before. She had command in her movements, confidence in every gesture. Samuel glanced her way. "Not from around here, are you?" She smiled faintly, feeding twigs to the flames. "You could say that. I've been away, but this is still my land." "Your land." She gave a soft laugh that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Not like that. My family owned some property around here once. I'm just visiting what's left." Samuel nodded, though something about the way she said it felt heavier than it sounded. As the rain poured harder, the firelight flickered between them, warm against the chill. Rebecca poured coffee from a tin kettle, offering him a cup. "You travel with your boy alone?" "Since his mama passed," Samuel said quietly. "She was strong. Stronger than me, I think." Rebecca's eyes softened. Loss makes strength mean something different. For a long while, they just listened to the rain. When morning came, the storm had passed, leaving the plains smelling of wet earth and new beginnings. Samuel helped Rebecca hitch her wagon again, and as he packed his things, Eli tugged on his coat. "Papa, can she come with us?" Samuel smiled sadly. "She's got her own road, son." But before he could mount up, Rebecca spoke. "Actually, I could use a guide. There's a ranch about 20 miles west, called Blackstone. You know it?" Samuel hesitated. "I've heard of it. Big place. Belongs to some cattle baron's family, though they say it's been without an owner for years since the old man passed." Rebecca met his eyes. "That's the one. I'm heading there." Something about her tone told him there was more to it. Still, he nodded. "Then we'll ride together till the crossroads." As they traveled, Samuel noticed how Rebecca carried herself, alert, deliberate, like someone who had learned to survive alone. She spoke little of her past but listened carefully to his stories, of Clara, of the drought that took half the crops, of how he tried to keep his boy's hope alive when there wasn't much to hold on to. By sunset, they reached the ridge overlooking the valley. Below lay Blackstone Ranch, sprawling over thousands of acres, its fences running to the horizon. Rebecca's eyes shone with something between sorrow and pride. "Home," she whispered. Samuel frowned. "Wait, you mean this is?" She nodded. "Mine, all of it." The shock hit him like a gunshot. The quiet woman whose wagon he'd fixed wasn't just a traveler. She was Rebecca Blackstone, the heiress of the largest ranch in the territory. Eli gasped. "You're rich." Rebecca laughed, ruffling his hair. "Some say so. But gold and land don't make a home, do they?" Samuel just stared. "Why didn't you say so? Would you have helped me if I had?" she asked softly. He looked down, ashamed that she might be right. Before he could answer, a group of riders appeared from the distance, armed ranch hands, wearing Blackstone badges. The lead man, a grizzled foreman, called out, "Miss Rebecca. You're back." The camp filled with movement, horses stamping, hands shouting. Samuel stood quietly beside his son, feeling suddenly out of place. Rebecca turned to him. "You and your boy, you have somewhere to stay." He hesitated. "We'll find a place in town." Her expression hardened slightly. "Town's full of rough men and empty rooms. Blackstone's got more barns than it needs. Stay, at least till you fix that wagon proper." He wanted to refuse, but Eli's hopeful eyes melted his pride. "Thank you, Mom," he said finally. She smiled, tipping her hat. "You can call me Rebecca." As they rode into the vast ranch yard, Samuel couldn't shake the feeling that his life had just changed forever. And up on that wide porch, as lightning cracked in the distance, Rebecca looked toward the horizon, toward the storm that hadn't yet ended, only paused. She whispered to herself, "This time, I won't lose it all again." The morning sun rose over Blackstone Ranch, washing the valley in gold. Cattle grazed along the ridges, the barns gleamed after the storm, and Samuel Hart still couldn't believe he and Eli were there, guests of the woman whose wagon he'd fixed on a lonely road. Rebecca Blackstone had returned home after years away, and her ranch hands greeted her with both relief and curiosity. Rumors whispered like the wind. The widow who'd gone east after her father's death, the one who'd left everything behind. Now she was back, not as the pampered daughter of a cattle lord, but as a woman hardened by loss and distance. Samuel repaired fences and wagons by day, helped in the blacksmith shed, and taught Eli to feed the horses. He didn't ask for pay, just a safe place for his boy. Rebecca often joined them, sleeves rolled, boots dusty, working beside the men like she'd never left. At night, when the work was done, Samuel would sit by the porch, carving little wooden horses for Eli. Rebecca sometimes joined him with coffee, and they'd talk, quietly, like two people who'd both buried too many dreams to count. "Your wife must have been proud," she said one night. "She was," he whispered. "She wanted a small farm, a quiet life. I promised her I'd make it happen, but the drought took it all." Rebecca looked toward the fields, her face soft in the lamplight. "You kept going. That counts more than land ever will." Days passed, and the ranch began to breathe again. Rebecca's leadership brought order, her kindness brought loyalty. But there was trouble brewing. A neighboring rancher, Clint Murdoch, wanted Blackstone. He'd been circling for years, waiting for a chance to claim it. When he heard Rebecca was back, he sent word, "Sell, or be forced out." Rebecca refused. A week later, Murdoch's men cut the fences and scattered her cattle. Samuel found the tracks first. "Looks like deliberate sabotage," he said grimly. Rebecca's jaw tightened. "Murdoch's behind it. He's testing me." That night, as the ranch hands gathered, Samuel stood beside her. "You can't fight him alone," he said. Rebecca's eyes met his. "Then stay. Help me protect what's left." Samuel didn't hesitate. For you, and for Eli, we'll stand. The next few days were tense. Murdoch's men struck again, setting fire to one of the barns. Samuel and the ranch hands fought the flames through the night. When it was over, his hands were blistered, his face streaked with ash, but Rebecca's voice trembled with gratitude. You could have left, she said. I told my boy a man finishes what he starts, he answered. By dawn, as the smoke lifted, Murdoch himself rode in with 5 armed riders. You can't hold this ranch, Rebecca, he sneered. You don't have the men, or the fight. Samuel stepped forward, his hammer in hand. She's got both. The standoff was tense, but Rebecca's foreman and crew appeared behind her, rifles ready. Murdoch realized the ranch wasn't his to take anymore. With a curse, he turned and rode off, dust cloud trailing behind him. When silence settled, Rebecca turned to Samuel. Her voice shook, but her eyes didn't. You saved this place. You and your boy. He smiled faintly. No, Mom. You saved it by coming home. Weeks later, peace returned. The fences stood strong, the barns rebuilt, the herd doubled. Samuel prepared to leave. He didn't want to overstay his welcome. But as he hitched his wagon, Eli clung to Rebecca's arm. Miss Rebecca, can't we stay? Please. She looked at the boy, then at Samuel. You could both stay, she said softly. Blackstone could use a man who knows how to fix more than wagons. Samuel hesitated. You sure about that? Rebecca smiled. I've been sure since the day you stopped on that road. He looked at her, this woman who had everything yet still felt alone, and for the first time since Clara's death, he felt peace. They stayed. In time, Samuel became the ranch's foreman, and Eli grew up chasing the horizon on a horse Rebecca gifted him. The ranch flourished under their care, not because of gold or cattle, but because broken souls had found a way to build something whole again, together. And on quiet evenings, when the sun dipped behind the hills, Rebecca and Samuel would sit on that porch, watching Eli ride, knowing that some roads, no matter how rough, led exactly where you're meant to be.